Namaste. Here we are again. We'll get started in a few minutes. Good morning, Monica. It's been so nice to see you every day. I'm so stuck in between, like, is this getting easier or more challenging, right? And having had some really good conversations with people recently, I think it's safe to say that it's both at the same time, right? We're all getting a little more used to the routine of quarantine, the confinement. We're adjusting. We're all adjusting, it seems. But, the longer it goes, in some ways the harder it gets. For me, the hardest part is missing like real human contact, real human connection. I mean, this has been an incredible device to provide that, but obviously very different. So I think it's probably the same for all of us. It's getting easier but harder at the same time. We'll get started in another minute or two. Anybody showing up for the first time, tuning in with us for the first time, I'm here at Shakti, our beautiful space. Good morning, Patrick. To just assist us a little bit in sitting, in centering while we sit together. And then, it's up to you. Good morning, Judith. It's up to you and what you do with it from here. Perhaps it's the beginning of your meditation and you carry it on as we close up, or perhaps you just take it and yourself for a beautiful walk today, and you just perhaps feel more connected, more centered from this time together. As I've been saying lately, please feel free to share, how you're feeling or what's helping, where you feel stuck, anything positive or negative. Often when we share, it helps all of us because it's the, oh yeah, it's not just me, which can be so helpful, right? We live in the confines of the mind so often where we think it's only us that is experiencing something, and, clearly through pandemic, we are all. But we can all be helping each other through this crisis by sharing a little if you choose to. Okay, let us tune in. Breathe in. Let's take a moment and perhaps we collectively dedicate this time of centeredness that we are being gifted. Perhaps we send it out to those in need of this seat, of this center. Namaste. I've been receiving a lot of messages, a lot of letters, and even some phone calls. It's really nice how a lot of us have been choosing to pick up the phone and have a voice connection these days. And so many are sharing with me that this has been a time that they are actually grateful for. And, their gratitude comes through for Shakti's space and community and the work that we've put into play prior to this crisis and or for these sits and, many, many things, right? And I'm grateful for that. Right? I feel an enormous amount of gratitude for the teachings and the ability to hold space, And this is what I'm getting to, and this is what I'm kind of struggling to share with you is we must always be careful. I'll use myself as the example in this case of, as I'm receiving all of these beautiful messages and in some ways what you might call accolades, kind of a funny word, but I'll use it. We must be careful not to define ourselves based on what people think of you or based on what you think of yourself. So, who do you think you are? Right? Who do you think you are is the question of the day, right? You could put a little sass in there too. Who do you think you are, right? And as you kind of play with the sass of who you think you are, I think it's really important for us to realize that we are more than the thought. We are more than what people think of us. We are more than what we think we are of ourselves, who we think we are. We are more than who we think we are. Essentially, we are all more than our thoughts. Because this could go either way, right? I could be getting tons of letters of who do you think you are? You suck, you're terrible, right? And then it's the same thing. Either way, we must be watchful that we are not defining our existence based on thought. Whether it's our own thought in our own head and or the thought of others. It can support, it's always nice to feel supported. It's always nice to be acknowledged, undoubtedly. But it doesn't define who I am, right? I'm sharing it because every once in a while, I have to constantly be watchful, right? As a yogi and as somebody that's attempting to assist others on a path of deeper awareness, I have to be always doing the work myself. I always have to be checking in. And every once in a while, not always, thank goodness, but I show up here with this kind of status thing of what am I going to offer today? What could I possibly say to help people today? Because that's what I have been doing. This kind of status of being a helper during this crisis, right? It might be the case. I don't know. But the point is, if I live in that state of defining myself based on who I think I am or who others think I am, I'm living a very limited existence. I'm living in a box of an idea that came from a thought. You are more than your thoughts. The thought creates an illusion of who we think we are. And that's most of us are kind of walking around this life presenting an illusion of who we, want to be. We want to be liked, we want to be accepted, we want to excel, right? There's nothing wrong with any of these things. This is our society. We are product. We live within the society, right? We can't rebel against it. But we, as people that are perhaps choosing to live more centered lives, more lives that are woke, we're awaking to, right? Wholer lives, freer lives. It's helpful if we can recognize when we are simply becoming our thoughts. Because we are more. We are more than our thoughts, right? We have this kind of understanding, like we're not just our head, right? There's a body, there's a heart, there's systems, there's organs, everything's keeping us going. It's not just head, right? We have somewhat of an understanding, yet more than likely we're living in the globe of our head, right? In our own little world, in our own little thoughts. And every once in a while, the thoughts of others kind of feed and fuel our existence as we define ourselves, right? The Satnam, the true identity of who you are is not your thought, right? And I'm not going to tell you what it is, because then it's just me thinking that's what you are. But your true identity is not your thought. So this journey that we might be on, whatever brought us here, usually what brings us to any kind of journey of awakening is some sort of pain, is some sort of turmoil, right? We're probably all in that right now, but we mustn't forget about the stuff that occurred before the crisis, right? There's a whole lot of other stuff, right, that makes you in this moment in time, this kind of package, your history, right? And because that history is so deeply complex, right? It's very easy for us to define ourselves in the thought of the history, right? I am this, I am widow, I am sick, I am traumatized, right? Yet you are so much more. So for me, going back to all of these kind of accolades and these beautiful expressions of gratitude for this process that's occurring right now and the process prior, anybody that has been kind of, working along the Shakti path with me, it's so easy for me to fall into kind of the trappings of, oh, I am yogi, I am helper, I am teacher. I might be, I probably am, right? But it's not all of who I am, right? And what gets interesting about the path is that you keep discovering, you keep exploring, you keep feeling, you keep sensing, living in a far more interactive way, involving your whole being, rather than the thoughts of the mind as they kind of define you and kind of project an illusion out to society on who you think you are. Who do you think you are? That we're cracking that mold of the thought open. It's not that the thought has to be annihilated and destroyed. It's just we are more than the thought. A lot of us probably feel pretty fucking trapped right now in the mind, right? We don't have anywhere to go, right? So we deal with it. We sit with our thoughts and we level them off. We even them out. We balance them with something else, right? The essence of who we are as human beings, the namaste, the acknowledging of who you are underneath the surface of the mind. And we're all just taking baby steps on that path that is with you until the day you die, And breathe in. A little shedding. A little dismantling. A little disrobing, if you will, the layers of the thought that have created the status of who you think you are. Perhaps we can support each other in this kind of free will of, letting a little of that go. There's so much more to discover inside. The Atma, the true self, the soul self, the spirit self, the heart self, the thriving, vital, living self that is linked to universal energy, and if it's for you, to divine spirit. Let the body be a vessel, a container. Open your container. Make space in your container. And drop anchor into the base of your tailbone. Elongate the spine. Lightly lift the crown. Opening the vessel. Bring your attention into your head, right? Where it's probably always been all along, right? The stories, right? The thoughts. These stories, these thoughts, they exist. They are real. They acknowledge. But they are not you. They do not define you. We identify with the thought, but the thought is not our identity. Soften your scalp. Release through your hairline. And through your jaw. And soften through the temples. And the ears. And feel as if there's a small hole in the top of your head, kind of decompressing, opening out. Let some stuff flow out. Make some space inside your head. Right? Thoughts can be released. Right? We're just used to holding them, but they can be released. And with your eyelids heavy, and the space behind the eyes soft, and shift your focus to the space just above the bridge of your nose, known as your third eye. And turning that eye inward. And see if you can draw some clearance from the front of your skull to the back of your skull. Like digging a tunnel. A tunnel that has a clear, direct line of inner light and inner awareness. When we're able to turn on this third eye, it helps to settle the mind's chatter and thoughts. And the more we're able to pull it toward the back of the skull, the more space we're making from the front of the thought. We don't have to dissolve the thought. We don't have to crush the thought. But we also don't have to live in the thought. And take that inner eye of awareness and now drop it down the midsection. Tunnel it into your diaphragm area, like an inner scope. And from inside, observe the diaphragm as it moves on your breath. And as you tunnel your gaze into your midsection, and as you observe from inside your diaphragm moving on your breath, you're giving your mind something to do other than have a thought. You're resting inside your lifeline, your essence. Your state of being. Your state of awareness. And your state of awareness is not the thought. It's you observing the self as you have a thought. And as you observe it, you've made space. So it can slide over, right? Like looking at a plan and just like moving it over a little bit. And then there's some more clearance. And a few more moments to observe the diaphragm from inside as it moves from your breath. This breath is teaching you that you are more than your thought. And as we learn this very healthy lesson, we don't have to live in the thought. We don't have to become the thought. The thought is just an occurrence. A 5-count breath exercise. Empty under the belly. Breathe in. Retain. Breathe out. Retain. Breathe in. Retain. Breathe out. Breathe in. Retain. Breathe out. Retain. Breathe in. Retain. Breathe out. Retain. Breathe in. Retain. Breathe out. Retain. Release the lock of the breath. Rerouting through the base of your tail. Reopening through the space of the spine. Re-elevating through the crown of the head. Sit in observance of your breath as it flows freely through you, and giving your mind something to do. And as you give your mind something to do, perhaps notice that you are more than your thoughts. You are in and of this lifeline. This breath is the essence of who you are. Observing the breath inside the vessel of the body. And slowly float the eyes open. Interlace the fingers and flip the palms up. Breathe in. Press the palms forward, contract the belly, breathe out. Press up, breathe in. Contract, breathe out. Continuing. Using your body, using your breath to move your body, using your breath to move your mind. One more. A few moments in the contraction, pull the belly in, press the palms forward, a slight tuck of the chin, and inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And press the palms up, breathe in. Take the hands to the heart as you breathe out. Take a moment, honoring all those in need of this sit, of this center. And send it out to them. And breathe in. Honoring this path, this practice, this sit that helps peel away the level of thought identity. Truly, eventually, gradually revealing our true identity, our true essence that is beyond the thought of the mind. Namaste. think you are? It's always nice when you're doing internal work, when you're doing internal investigation, that you maintain a little sense of humor along the way, so that you're not taking yourself too seriously, you're not being too rigid or too hard on yourself in this journey, on this path, that is so ongoing, right? From now until the day we take our last breath. So hopefully for all of us, that's a very, very long journey, and we have to pace ourselves. We have to pay attention that we're taking care of our psyche and our spirit along the way. Just every once in a while, perhaps come to realize that the thoughts kind of jump out and create the projection of the identity, right? And every once in a while, we can just step back and make a little space and say, I am more than that thought. That thought doesn't have to define me, whether it's a positive one or a negative one, right? And then we just kind of free ourselves up into a greater, fuller, richer existence. If you care to do the physical practice with me, we're heading over to Zoom after this. Christina's putting the necessary information up. As always, I just want to remind everyone that the way I offer class is similar to these sessions, where I'm not really here. I'm not aiming to teach you anything, right? That's a mind thing, right? I'm not aiming to teach you anything. And it's the same for yoga. For yoga, the deep respect and great rapport that I have with it is a birthright for each and every one of us. We're all just shedding these layers of nonsense so we can get to the true essence and true core of who we are. And the physical practice of yoga just helps us get there with a little bit more efficiency, if you will. So less about teaching yoga and more about experiencing yoga that is open to everyone. Let's close it up. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live with an easy heart. Namaste.